Hi everybody, very welcome to yet another Sunday night live stream here on the Mentour Pilot channel. I hope you're doing absolutely fantastic as always. I can't believe how quickly these weeks goes by, and I look forward to these live streams every single Sunday, and I hope you guys do as well. As you can see, I have moved city. I moved place a little bit. I'm now sitting in my living room in front of the fireplace because it's actually getting a little bit colder here in Spain, believe it or not. So I hope you like this new place. I thought it would just look a little bit more familiar, a little bit more relaxed for you guys. As always, guys, if you really want to ask a question, because it tends to be quite a lot of people pitching up here, if you really have an important question that you really want me to answer, then please use the super chat or use the Mentour Aviation app chat. I will be using both of those primarily, and then I will take some more questions here from the chat here on YouTube. I want to start off today, guys. If you have the app or if you have Facebook, you would have already noticed that there was some devastating news coming out of the UK from yesterday. There was a mid-air collision between a small Cessna aircraft and a helicopter in Buckinghamshire in the UK on Friday. Now, you might ask why I'm making such a big deal of that, and the reason is that it's very rare with in-flight collisions, right? In-flight collision very, very rarely happens for a number of reasons. One of them being that air traffic control, especially in the UK, tend to be very good. And second of all, you have systems, especially in airliners and in modern helicopters, called the TCAS system that helps prevent these things from happening. But sometimes they do happen, and in the app I was able to put out both live streams from the event, from the actual place, and some BBC news footage and stuff like that. And this is what I'm using the app for. If something of significance happens, then I will be using the app to send out whatever information I have. And also, another thing that I did was I made the TCAS training video, the training collection about TCAS, I made that free in the app, so that anyone who wanted to know how airliners, like big airliners like the 737 and the Airbus 320 and upwards, how we deal with potential in-flight collisions. So that's what I did. And I also gave for today, for the live stream, I put up a couple of videos that you should see in the app. So when you go in there was a case study for you guys that I wanted you to see. It was the Überlingen disaster, which happened close to the Alps in Germany, where an airliner and a freight aircraft crashed into each other, also because of not using the TCAS system properly. So I put this into the app so that you guys can understand that even though these in-flight mid-air collisions do happen, they're very rare, and when it comes to modern airliners, almost non-existent. Okay, and the reason is the way that we're using TCAS. All right, so I just wanted to start with saying that, and now we can go over to the questions. How is it called again, the app? The app is called Mentour Aviation. You'll have in the description to this live stream, you have the links. Just click for it. It's available both for Android. I'm going to see if... Let's see. Right, guys, let's see if we can get this thing back up and running again. Can you see me? If you guys can hear me or see me, just let me know, because the Wi-Fi is still a Spanish mobile Wi-Fi, so it might not hold up as good as I was hoping. All right, cool, excellent. Yeah, so I was talking about the Brexit. Now, the problem with the Brexit is that no one really knows what's going to happen when Brexit happens. This is the whole problem, and it doesn't only concern the aviation sector, it concerns all sectors. So everything that has to do with trade, everything that has to do with immigration, everything that has to do with anything that goes in and out of the UK is going to be affected, and no one really knows how it's going to be affected. So when it comes to the airline industry, it's in the best interests of both the UK and the EU to start sort this out. But the fact is that if it becomes a hard Brexit, if if um, if Britain decides that no, we're not going to be part of the Freedom of Movement Acts within the EU, we are going to just cut all ties and do this all by ourselves, well, in that case, they are going to have to create unilateral deals with every single one of the countries that are inside of the EU and every single country outside, because at the moment, all of these unilateral deals, all of these kind of deals between countries when it comes to where and how you can fly an aircraft is done on behalf of the EU towards the rest of the world. But if one country decides to leave the EU and leave it without staying inside of the Freedom of Movement Act, well, in that case, they're going to have to do a deal with each and every one of these countries in order to be able to fly from there. And yes, then it will become a problem. But as I said, no one really knows what's going to happen. It is likely that they will come up with a much better deal than that. Okay, and that's my firm belief that that would happen as well. Okay, more questions. Does it cost? Does it cost something about the app? No, the app is for free. You can just download it. There are stuff inside of the app which I'm hoping that you guys want to buy, which is training. There's, for example, I do recommend everyone to get the complete collection that includes how to set up a 737, how to fly TCAS maneuver, how to do a rejected takeoff and evacuation. There's loads of stuff in there, but the app in itself is free. So you don't have to buy anything. You can go in and use the chat and everything for free. Right, more questions then. And guys, feel free to use the super chat if you want to. And if you really have questions that you want to ask. Cool. Mentor, how does no open skies affect UK to European flights? I know EasyJet have recently gone to Austria. Yeah, this is part of the whole discussion regarding Brexit, that no one really knows. And if there's one thing that airlines really hate, this is just the same as with banks, is not knowing what's going to happen. All right. So the fact that EasyJet, for example, have started up an AOC in Austria, this is just to prepare in case something would happen, in case it would become a hard Brexit, then they would have something to choose from, you know. So this is why that is happening. Is 25 years old too old for starting to fly or starting a flying career? No, absolutely. Most pilots actually start around that age. And when it comes to age, guys, I've done a few videos on this. This is something that age can become a problem later on, but it generally tends to be a problem only when people have started up their own lives. Okay, so you will have had your, if you're older than 35, for example, most people have already started their life by then, which means they have a family, they have a spouse who has a job. You might not be as flexible. So this tends to be the main problem with starting flight training at a later stage, because becoming a pilot, starting off as a pilot, means that you're going to have to be flexible. You're going to have to do quite a lot of movement, probably. You're probably going to have to spend quite a lot of money. You might not earn as much money as you would like in the beginning. All of that is easier if you're young and flexible, all right? If you're older, that might become a problem. So when people ask me about age, that's generally what I'm thinking about. Then I was talking to Scandinavian Aviation Academy, and they said that they tend not to take in people who are older than, I think it was 36. What reason they have for that, I don't really know. But that's above 36 or so, that's when generally there starts to be a little bit of a shift in the flight schools. Anyway, airlines, however, if they need pilots and you have the required documentation, they tend to, and they shouldn't look too much at your age. So don't worry about age. Especially not when you're 25. Right, cool. So here we have the first couple of messages in the super chat. Thank you very much, Sean Rady. Hi Mentor, could you explain what cost index is? I know it's something to do with fuel, but that's all I know. Yeah, cost index, sure. So basically, an aircraft can be flown very fast or very slow. Okay, there is a trade-off between how quickly you want the aircraft to fly, how short time it should be in the air, how quickly you want your passengers to get to your target, and how much fuel you want to burn. Okay, so if you fly really fast, this means that you are going to burn more fuel, especially the differences are really big during climb and during descent. During cruise, we all kind of sit around the same Mach number, which is about 0.78 to 0.80, somewhere around there. Almost all airliners are sitting at those Mach numbers. But in the climb and the cruise, sorry, in the climb and the descent, you can go much faster. Now, if you want to go faster, that's going to burn fuel. But obviously, you're also going to be able to fly more hours with the aircraft. Same hours, but more flights in those hours. So there's a trade-off between how quickly you want it to go and how much fuel you want to burn. And if the fuel price goes up, then you might want to slow it down, for example. And if you have a lot of short sectors, for example, you might want to turn it up. But this is what cost index is. Cost index is a way for the airline to tell the aircraft how much it values fuel versus time. So if we have a high cost index, it means that the aircraft is going to fly very quickly during climb and during descent. Low cost index, it's going to fly slowly, right, and save on fuel. So that's essentially what cost index is. You know, if I put cost index 1 in, well, then it's going to climb really slowly. It's going to fly approximately the same cruise speed, and it's going to descend horribly slowly, maybe 220 knots during the descent. If I go cost index 6, which my airline is using, well, then we are climbing out, depending a little bit, obviously, on weight, but climb speeds around 280 knots, above flight level 100. Cruise speed is the same, and descent is 246 knots. And cost index 35, which we tended to use before, well, then climb speed was a bit higher. It might be 290 to 300 knots. Cruise speed the same, and descent speed with 279 knots. So you can see these are the differences that we're looking at when you're using cost index, and I hope that makes sense now. I might do a video on cost index actually, because it's a fairly interesting topic to talk about. So bashers have gone into the super chat as well. I didn't get a question, bashers. I don't know if you wanted just to support the channel. In that case, thank you very much. Otherwise, just go into my Facebook channel, send me a private message on Facebook, and I will answer your question there. I promise that. Right, I'll take some more questions from the Mentour Aviation chat then. Let's see, there is loads of questions coming up here. Is it expensive becoming a pilot in Sweden? It's not cheap. All right. If you want to self-sponsor your training in Sweden, it is cheaper than in the UK, but more expensive than, for example, in Poland and in Spain. All right. The Scandinavian Aviation Academy, which is the airline that I have been working with on a couple of different topics lately, I think their self-sponsored program is about 780,000 kroner, which is about 80,000 euros for everything. And to compare, if you go to the UK, it's probably a little bit more than 100,000 euros. And in Poland, for example, Bartolini, I think they're about 55, 60,000 or something like that. So these are ballpark figures, and they do change all the time. But what is really good in Sweden is that you have a government-sponsored program there. So if you're really good in school, you've studied well, and you apply to it, I think there's not too many spaces a year, but I think it's around 60 spots per year. You could actually get the government to pay for your training. Everything, right? You have to pay for your own accommodation and stuff like that, but the training in itself is paid for by Sweden, and there's no strings attached. That is fantastic. There are a few other countries who does this as well. I think, for example, France has a program that I know it's extremely hard to get into, but it is possible. I think Norway has it as well. I think Finland or Denmark might have it as well, but I'm not 100% sure. But the Nordic countries tend to have this as part of their quite general, well, high taxation system, but general schooling system. Cool, more questions. I'll take some from the actual chat here now, because there's quite a few of you guys here. It's only 20 spots available in SAA per year, from Ludwig Johannesson. Yeah, but SAA, Scandinavian Aviation Academy, is not the only school who does this government-sponsored program. There is what used to be Trafikflygarhögskolan down in Lund as well, and they do it as well. And I think they might have 20 more spaces, or even more than that. Bashes, hi mentor. Do you ever get nervous while flying in a normal sector, and do you hand fly as much as you would like? Good question. No, I don't get nervous. If the weather starts, becoming complicated. Let's say, for example, a couple of weeks back we had that hurricane that was going past the going past Ireland and over the North Sea, and that created an enormous amount of wind. Okay, I flew into Leeds, Bradford during those days, and also flew to Stansted and I flew to Bristol. Okay, very windy, maximum crosswind conditions, short runways, except Stansted, which is long. Then what happens is you don't become nervous, but you become more concentrated, more tense. You know beforehand that this is going to happen, so we plan for it. You do all of the dispatch calculations that you need to do performance-wise to make sure that you can actually land. In a place like Leeds, for example, you want to take extra fuel because you know that there's a high possibility that you might have to do a go around and then come back in and do another attempt. If you have too little fuel, you might have to divert. But you can't take too much fuel either because the landing distance is short, so you don't want to be too heavy. So when you have conditions like that, then sure, you're a little bit more tense than you would be normally, but you're not nervous. At least I'm not nervous. If I do enough hand flying, yeah, I'm quite happy with my hand flying, actually. We don't do much hand flying in line operations. Like when you're at your home base, you know that it's a nice calm day, it's good weather, there's not too much VFR traffic around, stuff like that. Then we do disconnect a little bit earlier and we hand fly it to keep our skills up. But we don't do that very often, and there's a good reason for that. We're flying, at least I, as a training captain, is flying quite a lot with young cadets. And as soon as I disconnect the autopilot, they are now pilot monitoring if I'm flying. They will need to make sure that all the parameters are correct and I'm not making any mistakes. And obviously that will bring their workload up quite a bit. And when their workload goes up, it's likely that they will miss more things. My workload has gone up because I'm now hand flying. So there's less of the crew that is focusing on seeing if there's something wrong, something crucially wrong. Okay, so this is why automation has become such a big deal during flight in modern airliners, because it actually, the stick and rudder stuff is not what's hard with being an airline pilot. What's hard with being an airline pilot is to see far in advance that something is about to go wrong and to rectify it before it becomes a problem. And when you take away the automation, you disconnect early and you take away some of these barriers, okay? And it's more likely that you will make mistakes and that the crew will make mistakes. And that's why we don't hand fly that much. Okay, having said that you need to keep your hand flying skills up to date. So we do hand fly, but only when it's suitable. I would never disconnect in the London TMA, for example. Loads of traffic around, do not want to cause a TCAS event. So, you have to use your brains when it comes to this. And we practice hand flying a lot in the simulator. This is something that the airline, most airlines are very aware that you need to practice your hand flying skills. But the proper place to do that is at your home base during good weather conditions, good flying conditions, and in the simulator when you want to do tricky stuff like raw data approaches in a lot of crosswind and stuff like that, because we don't want people to degrade the aircraft performance online with passengers on board. And I hope that makes sense. Cool. Is a uni diploma enough to apply to major airlines? From Jerome. That depends on where you are. You would see that in the States, for example, they might need more than a university diploma, but I would say a university degree is probably enough in most places, right? I would be very surprised if it wasn't. Okay, some airlines might not require you to have any degree whatsoever. But what I would like to do, and this is something I tell all of you guys always when I do these live streams, is that if you want to get into a specific airline, or you're in a specific geographic location and you want to make sure that you have what you need in order to apply, well, then what you do is you do some research. You go in, you go to the web pages of these airlines that you want to apply to, you check out their recruitment page. There's always going to be a recruitment page, and you see what they require. All right, based on that, you can now take your decision whether or not you need to have a university degree or not. So it's very hard for me to sit here and tell you guys that this is exactly how you need. You need to have exactly these papers because they're different all over the world. So check out the airlines that you're interested in yourself. That will be my first. And it goes for everything. It goes for flight schools as well, guys. You need to do proper research. You need to check out the stuff yourself. No one can tell you how good how good a flight school is, for example. You need to find that out yourself. No one can tell you if you need a university degree or not. You need to find that out yourself, right? I hope that makes sense. Mentor, if your company was to do away with its fleet of 737s and switch to an Airbus 320, how much retraining would you need to fly the Airbus 320? I will need a full type rating. Okay, a full type rating, you need that to fly all bigger airline types. I think once an aircraft is heavier than, 5,700 kilos, I might be wrong there. You guys who are doing the ATPL theory probably knows this even better than I do. But when you want to start flying a bigger aircraft type, it's different that when you have flown before, you need to do a type rating. What that entails is that you need to do a technical course, and then you need to do simulator training and a license skill test and a skill test for that particular plane. Now, this for a trained crew with previous experience will probably take between 1.5 and 2 months to do. So that's the kind of training that you can expect. If I were to change an aircraft type now, it would probably take me at least 2 months just to get the type rating into my license. And then after that, it's likely that I would have to do line training as well. Even if I came in as a direct entry captain, I would have to do line training with line trainers from the airline I'm going to because I need to learn their SOPs. Sounds good? Makes sense? Good. It's great to do this, guys, by the way. I'm losing. I still have a bit of a cold, so I'm losing a bit my voice. Mentor, does it matter what kind of college you go to and for how long? Yeah, like I was saying in my previous question, it might or it might not, depending on what airline you're applying to. Mentor, can you talk about commercial aviation in Spain? Well, commercial aviation in Spain is pretty much like commercial aviation anywhere within the EU. It's the same rules that apply. From what I understand, there's quite a lot of jobs available now. I think Iberia is hiring, Ryanair is hiring to several bases, so is EasyJet. So commercial aviation in Spain is looking good at the moment. But when it comes to the smaller airlines, I don't have too much insight into that, I'm afraid. Severus, Mentor, are you a strict captain, teacher, or quite chatty with your first officer or cadets? Well, I'm going to give you a guess on what kind of training captain I am. Do I look like the silent, strict type? I'm going to say that you need to, as a line training captain, this is not a joke, right? This is not, it's not something to be played around with, right? I take my job very seriously. I respect my students a lot. I respect all of the work they've put into their type rating. Now they're in the line training. I know how much they have worked in order to get there. And they deserve someone who takes them seriously and who takes the job seriously. Okay, so I will not be the one sitting there, pulling jokes when they're on short final. No, all right. I stick to the rules. I stick to the SOPs because that's what my airline is paying me to do. So, but I am there to help. I am happy to smile. I want my cadets or the captains are being trained or whoever it might be to feel comfortable, to feel that they can speak up, that they can communicate, that they can ask whatever question they might have. I might not have the answers. Like you've seen, I don't have the answers to all questions, but I want them to be able to ask the questions. All right. The only way to do that is to smile and to show that you're open. And realize that I make mistakes all the time, and I tell my cadets, even the day one cadets when they come in, you might see me make mistakes. Tell me. Really, really important that you point out this is part of you becoming a commercial pilot, is that you pick up even the freshest cadet can stop the chief pilot from doing something wrong. It's really important that you know that. So this is the kind of line training captain that I try to be, right? And then I have days where I'm not feeling fantastic. I will not be in the best of mood all the time, that it would be impossible to do. So you would have me on in a foul mood sometimes as well, but I always try to never let that get out, you know, to never put that out on any of my co-pilots or any of the pilots I fly with or any of the pilots I'm doing a check on, right? It's not fair. But, you know, you can only do your best, and I'm only human. I'm going to take some coffee, guys, because this is, as you can hear, my voice is disappearing. Okay, so DCV have sent in a question here on the super chat. Is that what does ATC mean when they say ground 9? I'm not sure. You might have to expand a little bit on that question, because ground.9 I've never heard them say. If you mean that they tell them to get over to ground and then they give a frequency, then it's because they're handing them over to the ground frequency. So once you've landed, the aircraft is going to be on runway, and then we're going to taxi off. And in order to get the taxi clearance, we don't talk to the tower anymore. We talk to the ground controller. So it's quite likely that what you've heard is that the tower frequency is giving the ground frequency to the pilot so that they can taxi into their gate or taxi out, if that's the case. So hopefully that's it. And if you had a different question than that, DCV, then just contact me. Either do another super chat, by all means, or contact me on Facebook, and I will try to explain it to you. How many times have you landed in Mallorca? Oh, many times. I've been to Mallorca a lot of times. When I was based in Stockholm before, we used to fly there quite often. I love flying into Mallorca. It's quite busy. Nice long runways. Beautiful island to fly to, so I really like flying into Mallorca. Mentor, would you like to change your, it says Planeta, I'm guessing you mean plane, to something else? No, I'm quite happy. I mean, sure, I have friends who's gone over to fly on the 787, okay? Flying the Dreamliner, and some have been flying on the 350 and the 777 and these bigger aircraft type, and even the 747. And I do at times get a little bit jealous, because I would like to try something new as well. Like I would love to get my hands on a 787-10 or a 747 or 777 or whatever it might be. But at the end, I always look at, is this going to make my life better? Right? Because that's always going to be the thing that decides if you want to move or not. If your airline doesn't have other airplanes, then the only way to fly a different airplane is to move an airline. And if you move your airline, you need to be aware of what that is going to mean. If that means that you are going to move away from where you are, be further away from your family, not be home as much, stuff like that, well then, you know, flying a 787 is not worth that. It's at the end, it's always going to be pretty much the same distance from where you sit to the nose of the aircraft. No matter how big it is, at the end, it's kind of the same. The gadgets might look cool, the aircraft might look great, but at the end, it's a job where you go from A to B, and you try to do that in as safe as possible manner. So pilots who've been flying for a while, you can ask them. Quite a few of them would happily be going from a 737 down to flying a turboprop if that meant that they would be able to be home with their family and with their friends. That is ultimately what is important in life, guys. Cool. Are you going to fly your company's new 737 MAX? Yeah, my company is getting a couple of 100 737 MAXes. They're coming in 2019. And I really hope that I'm going to fly it. I think we're all going to. I think that it's just going to be mixed up in the rest of the fleet. That's as far as I've understood anyway. And in that case, I will be flying it. It's a small difference course. It's not even a simulator difference course. It's just something that we can do on a CBT, as in a computer-based training. So the difference with flying the 737-800 and the 737 MAX is very, very small. So yeah, I'm looking forward to flying it because it looks like a cool aircraft, but it's not going to be much different from what I'm doing now. Fry 189. Petter, does Super King Air high performance aircraft? I read definition of high performance aircraft, and then you disappeared there. No, I would. Well, it's depending on how you define a super high performance aircraft. I wouldn't say that the Super King Air is that, right? But sure, if you have read a definition that defines it like that, then maybe that's true. But it's not that anything to compare with, for example, a 737 or an Airbus 320 or any modern jet aircraft. Mentor, do you airliners prefer integrated or modular students? At the moment, it doesn't seem to matter much. Okay, historically, integrated students have had a little bit of a they've been taken a little bit before modular students. Basically because the airlines knows the schools and the courses better. The courses are better controlled. They know exactly what kind of quality they get out of the students that's coming from integrated courses. But now that has changed a little bit. There are organizations out there like Cora, for example, or Wings Alliance that takes care of modular students and make sure that they keep the same kind of consistency in the training, that they're getting good MCC courses and stuff. And with that, this has changed a little bit. So at the moment, I don't think that there is much difference. There's probably still a little bit of difference, especially if you're going to an integrated course in a school that has a good reputation and had a lot of contacts inside of the airline world. Then you might still have a bigger chance of getting a job when you go through an integrated course. But all in all, you're probably going to pay half as much when you do modular if you do it the right way, and the difference is not that big anymore. So I would consider modular if you're short on cash, especially. Ramlos Otto, Kram, back to you. If ILS is available, do you always use it, or do you take different approaches for fun, like an RNAV or a VOR? No, we kind of use the ILS if it's available. All right. The only reasons we would do a non-precision approach, which, for example, a VOR or a localizer approach would be, is for training purposes. Like we need to train it as part of line training, for example. If we feel like ourselves that we need to train it and the weather is good, well, then you can do that as well. But as an airline pilot, you always try to make your job as easy as possible. And the easiest way of doing an approach is following an ILS. It's very exact. You have the flight directors telling you exactly what to do. Once you disconnect, it's also easier to do your scan inside of the cockpit. If you do a non-precision approach, we recycle the flight directors, so the flight directors disappear from when we start flying manually. So you're basically flying only on the outside visual cues. On an ILS, you can keep the flight directors going all the way down. So all of these things brought together makes it easier to fly an ILS. Easier is safer, like because of what I said before. It's easier to monitor each other, to monitor the aircraft. So we tend to fly an ILS if we can. Right, guys, let's see if there's more questions coming up on the super chat, because there's quite a few questions coming in at the moment. But by the way, guys, do you like my the new type of videos I'm doing? Early next month, then there will be new videos coming up. I'm going to put more videos inside of the Mentour Aviation app as well. So if you have the app, you can stand by for that. And there's also going to be more hands-on videos, obviously from inside of the simulator. That's all I can do flying-wise. But I will be able to show you stuff. Turnarounds, crosswind landings, crosswind takeoffs, failures, all those kind of things. So I really hope that you like these new type of videos. I have quite a few lined up. Quite a few things that I think you will like. As soon as I have access to an aircraft, which I do now and then actually, because we have aircraft standing on standby or not being used at the moment, then I will try to make more videos, and I really hope that you like them. Right, guys, it seems like something is wrong with the sound. Just tell me, can you hear me? Blocking the sound mic. Okay, I don't think so. I shouldn't be blocking anything, but can you hear me now? Okay. Yeah, no. This is I'm quite sure that this has to do with my internet connection, unfortunately. All right, cool. So I was saying before, guys, that I hope you like my new, slightly more technical videos. I will be trying to do more of those, and you can expect me inside of a simulator doing much more cool stuff coming up. and in a much better way as well. I'm going to hire a professional film guide who's going to make the quality go up quite a bit. So I need your help, guys. I need you to spread the word about the channel. I really hope that we can get more and more people in here, more and more people inside of the Mentour Aviation app as well, make it more fun for everyone to take part of it. Yeah, we'll just continue with doing this, which is great. Right, more questions from the Mentour Aviation app then. What are pilots' legal responsibilities? That's a big question. That's a question that I won't be able to answer all here. I mean, our legal responsibilities, you can boil it down to our legal responsibilities is to try to keep the aircraft as safe, aircraft and its passengers as safe as humanly possible in all circumstances. If that means not flying the aircraft, then that's what we do. If that means diverting to a different airport than we were supposed to go to, that's what we do. So a captain's responsibility, all pilots' responsibility, all the responsibilities of the crew is always to maintain the safety of the aircraft. Everything else comes second or third. Cool. Right, guys, I'm starting to lose my voice. So I don't know how long I'm going to be able to keep this up tonight. We have some questions that I've been covering before as well. Mentor, is there much difference between the LED landing lights and the all halogen landing lights on the 737? Yes, there's a lot of difference. Okay, we can take this once and for all. I'm probably going to make a video on this just to show you this. But basically what happened was that in the latest model of the latest versions of the 737 that we've gotten out, we have the LED lights. Okay, the LED lights are sitting in the wing roots, and they have replaced the retractable landing lights, the runway turn-off lights, and the taxi lights. All right, all of these things have been just put into this LED kind of array that's sitting in the wing root. Okay, they are extremely bright. As in, they are so bright that if I would turn the lights on, someone would be looking into it at the same time, they would probably burn the eyes straight out of the head. They are very, very efficient. Okay. The other things that they have made, which is a great improvement, is that they've gotten rid of the retractable lights. So on the older 737s, when we switch the retractable landing lights on, two lights will be coming out into the airstream, right? They will be great because they focus the lights exactly what you want it to be, but of course they will be in the airstream, so they would cost fuel to use. Now they have been replaced by these LED arrays. That's good. Same with the lights that used to be sitting on the nose wheel. Those tended to break all the time. If there was a bird strike, it would hit there. If it was something on the runway, it would hit there. And we were not allowed to take off if you had a damaged lens on those taxi lights. Okay, so the fact that they have been replaced by this array is also good, because it's more likely that we will be able to depart now when we don't have the problems with the taxi light anymore. Right, so I got it. Why am I here asking questions when I'm being ignored from someone? Right. All of you who are asking questions in the normal chat, you have to understand that there are, I don't know how many 100 questions coming in every minute now. I won't be able to answer all of them. So the only thing that I can do is I can guarantee you that if you're using the super chat, I will be answering your questions. Okay. Otherwise, I will just randomly pick questions from here and there, mainly from the Mentour Aviation app, and then from the super chat. And then I'll pick one twice here in the YouTube chat as well. So that's one of your questions now being answered. You could have used that to actually ask a question, but at least you got an answer. So I hope that's good. Right, more questions. Then I'll take a few more from the normal chat here. Max hours you've flown on one flight. I've done one flight for 10 hours, and that was the flight that I did from Seattle to Dublin, picking up a brand new aircraft from factory, flying it non-stop to Dublin. That was cool. That was one of the best flights I've ever done. Flying into the Northern Lights over Greenland. Absolutely fantastic. I highly recommend it to anyone who has the chance to pick up a new 737. or any other type of Boeing aircraft. Mentor, as a captain, can you perform a marriage on board? Yes, I can. But there is a caveat here, all right? Legally, a captain of an aircraft, just like a captain of a boat, can marry people, all right? But it should be done only during distress. So, in fact, the only time that I would marry someone, theoretically, would be if there was a big risk to the aircraft. Now, having said that, as you might imagine, if there's a big risk to the aircraft, I will probably not be out in the aisle marrying people. I will probably be in the front trying to fix the problem. So it is a highly theoretical question. But yes, legally, I can, under distress, marry people on board. I don't think it's ever happened. Not as far as I know, anyway. What do you do when you're at an airport layover? Can layovers be enjoyable? Yeah, absolutely. Now, I don't do many layovers. In my airline, we tend to get back to base all the time. But I do quite a lot of sim, which means that I'm away in hotels next to airports. And absolutely, it's like with everything in life, guys. You do it. You make things as enjoyable as you want them to be. So if you want to sit in your hotel room twiddling your thumbs, well, then you do that, and it's not going to be very enjoyable. But you might as well take a taxi into the closest town and go to the movies, or see the local sightseeing, or shop something, or do whatever you want. If providing that you get the proper rest you need, you can do whatever you want. And this is why people become pilots. They want to see the world. They want to do stuff. So if you have a long layover, say you have a 48-hour layover, you can go out snorkeling, or take a tour boat somewhere, chill on the beach, do stuff. So absolutely, a layover can be really enjoyable if you want. Mentor, what does ATPL, CPL, and PPL stand for? Airline Transport Pilot License, Commercial Pilot License, and Private Pilot License is what it stands for. And if you really want to know what it is, I have made a playlist on the channel, which is called Pilot Licenses, in which I go through every single one of these licenses and tell you what they are, what they stand for, and what you can do with them. So I highly recommend that if you want to know more about pilot licenses as such. And if you check in the channel, guys, by the way, I have reshuffled. I've made some new playlists, and I've reshuffled the channel a little bit. Please feel free to go in there and check it out if you like it. And what else I wanted to say before we finish off for today? Go into, if you haven't already, make sure that you follow me on Instagram, mentor_pilot, and now go into the app, because I'm losing my voice here, guys. So I'm going to be answering more questions in the app now, from now on. So, but it's been absolutely great to chill with you as always. You can't imagine how much I actually like doing these live streams, because it feels that I get much closer to you, and you guys are the reason that I'm doing this in the first place. So thank you very much for being here, all of you. And now let's head over to the Mentor Aviation chat instead, and I will see you again. Well, I'm going to be releasing a new video on Thursday, as I always do, and then next Sunday I will be back here for another live stream. And once in a while, when I have time over, there might be some live streams popping up on my Facebook feed as well, and maybe here on YouTube. And by the way, I'm going to take this YouTube feed away tomorrow evening. So from now on, the live stream is going to be up, but it's only going to be up for about 24 hours or so. Then I'm going to take it away, because I don't want it to be clogging up the channel for people who want to see the videos that I'm making. I'll take some more questions here. Let's see if there's anything popping up here in the Facebook, sorry, in the YouTube. No, there's not much more coming up, guys. Have a fantastic evening wherever you are. Take care of yourself, and make sure that we see you back here next Sunday with more questions. Bye-bye.